guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to share with you a fall makeup look using not just drugstore makeup, but some of my most affordable drugstore makeup. I've got a full desk of stuff here in front of me that I'm very excited to put together into a beautiful fall makeup look. Some of this stuff is so incredibly cheap. Some of these have been longtime favorites of mine. Some of them are a little on the newer side, but I'm excited to put it all together and see what we can create. I hope that you guys are excited about it as well. Before we jump into the makeup, a very special welcome to anyone that is new here. Thank you so much for watching today. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Please be sure to subscribe to my channel before you leave and make sure that notification bell is turned on. And with that said, let's get right to it. Okay, so we're gonna jump right in with foundation, no primer today. I just finished washing my face. I applied an extra layer of moisturizer, which I think is all I really need. Today we are going to use one of my most affordable drugstore foundations. It's from e.l.f. This is the e.l.f. Flawless Satin Foundation. I'm a big fan of this stuff. This one is in the shade Vanilla. I think we're gonna try and use this on its own today. Kind of in between shades right now. And I want to apply this with a brush today. This is just my IT Cosmetics foundation brush, which I probably should have used. I have another foundation brush here from BH Cosmetics, which works just as well. Or you could just use a sponge. I feel like I get better coverage out of this foundation with a brush though. And I really need the coverage right now. I've got quite a few stubborn spots on my face, especially around my nose right here. So that's just one solid pump, which I think is the perfect amount for me. And just with what's left on my brush, I'm just kind of running this around the perimeter of my face. Make sure those edges are nice and blended out. Now let's jump into concealer. I pulled out my e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer today. It was back and forth between this one and the Incognito Concealer, which are both very affordable. I love them both. This one I actually think gives you a little more bang for your buck because of the size. There's a lot of product in these little bottles. I have to mix two shades together. I don't quite have the perfect match. I have Fair Warm, which is quite a bit too light for me, and then Medium Sand, which is a bit dark on me. But that said, I don't mind having two shades of concealer. I feel like you're always better off if you can afford it, to just pick two shades, one a little bit too light, one a little bit too dark, and then mix them, customize them to get them to match perfectly. Because it is very rare that a concealer, or a foundation for that matter, matches perfectly right out of the bottle. So I'm just kind of dabbing those. I have the two shades here that I'm mixing them together. It's kind of like Bob Ross going on here, like a little paint tray. This one I have about equal parts of those two shades to cover up some of these stubborn hyperpigmentation marks I have on my cheeks, around my eyes. I'm gonna do a couple layers here under my nose. I've got this spot that's healing, and then this one that's new, which will probably burn right through any concealer I put on it. I always feel like if there's like an active, irritated blemish, they do not hold on to concealer for some reason. Maybe it's because I can't stop touching them. Okay, now I'm gonna jump over to a clean sponge. This one from Wet n Wild. I'm gonna start on the perimeter and then I'll finish off with the eyelids. Because they're so light, I don't wanna spread that light shade all over. Okay, we're gonna powder things down a little bit with my Stay Matte powder from Rimmel. I'm just gonna take a fluffy brush for this. Try and build it up in here. I'm gonna kind of powder everywhere today. Cover some of these spots with a little bit of powder. Around my mouth, on my eyelids, forehead. Just with the tiny bit that's left. By the way, this is very lightweight powder. I mean, it might look like I'm putting a lot on. There is not much on my brush at all. And that will do it. Now that I am nice and pale, let's add some color back to my face with a bronzer. I'm gonna take my Essence Baby Got Bronze in Cinnamon Swirl. No, that's wrong. Cinnamon Spice, the cinnamon warmer one. I'm gonna apply this by just swiping it on to my cheeks. I usually put this on just with a brush, but I know some people put them on this way, so I wanted to show that you can do it either way. Just a tiny bit on the side of my nose. I feel like that might be too much. Oh, it smells so good. How many of you have tried this out and concurred that it smells like watermelon lip balm from the 90s? Totally has a familiar scent to me. I'm gonna blend that in with a dense brush. And then just tap it right here. And I like to tap rather than drag to make sure I don't pull off the coverage underneath. Take a tiny bit more just on the brush itself. Put that a little further in, a little bit higher up. I really want to warm things up quite a bit. And there we have the bronzer. Let's move into a blush next. You guys, I am loving this blush. I know I've talked about it a lot recently. This is the Kindness blush from the Revolution brand. They sell these in Walmart. You can get them for $2.98, which is a crazy good price. I'm not wild about the highlighter in here, but this blush, you guys, it might look basic, but there's something very special about this. I have been using it so much lately. And it is such a beautiful color, such a beautiful formula. Great for fall. It's kind of a nude pink that has a little bit of like a rusty sort of color to it, but I would still call it more of a pink than a warm tone. I don't know, like a berry toned warm pink. It's also really nice pigmented formula that just blends and goes on so easy. Do not have to blend it very much, but you can build it up. Stays in place pretty well. I'm telling you guys, this thing is worth way more than the $2.98 that I paid for it. I've actually been reaching for this over my Pat McGrath blushes, which is crazy. They're right next to each other, and this is the one I've been grabbing for. Blend out those edges with my sponge. I always like to over apply the blush and then kind of smooth the edges out a bit. Now let's add some highlighter. So I pulled out my ColourPop highlighter in Flexitarian. I have not used this highlighter forever, so we're gonna give it a try today. It was an old favorite of mine that I kind of just pushed to the back of my drawer and forgot about. So we're gonna give it some love today. It is very intense. I actually don't think this highlighter has the best staying power, but it is very, very beautiful. It's a little bit on the icy side. Very, very light and icy. So if you have more of a medium skin tone, unless you like something very, very reflective and intense, kind of chrome looking, might be a little bit too bright for you. But if you apply too much or if it gets a little bit too icy, you can always tap some of the excess into your skin with your sponge. All right, let's move on to the eyes. So I am so excited to pull these little eyeshadow palettes out. I'm sure you guys are very familiar with these. These are the Essence palettes, the 6-pan palettes from Essence. We're gonna use 3 of these today. I know that's a little bit excessive. You could just pick one or the other. The one we're mainly focusing on is the Bronze This Way palette. We're gonna use that red, that darker brown. We might use this kind of rusty bronze red shimmer, but I want to dip into this for the transition shade and this for my inner corner shimmer. But another palette that was in the running for this video, honestly, I was back and forth until I started this video and just made a decision, was the Wet n Wild Color Icon palette. This is the Nude Awakening one. This seems pretty basic, but it creates some of the most beautiful fall toned eyes that aren't overly warm. I love that you get this red in here, this like deep berry tone, but then the other shades aren't too warm, so your look's not gonna come out too orange, which I like an orange toned eye, but if you don't like something too warm, this would be a good option. I think the look we're gonna create with these palettes is gonna be a little bit warmer than what you would get from that Wet n Wild one. So many of those Wet n Wild palettes are so good for fall. I love all the orange and bronze tones in their 5-pan palettes. But we're gonna start with this one. This is the Coral Me Maybe in that peach right there. Just gonna run this up above the crease. We're gonna kind of pull it way out here and then drag it under. This might look a little crazy initially, but we will layer on top of this and clean things up with my sponge, so don't worry. Beautiful color. Gosh, these are so good. All right, now let's jump over to the Bronze This Way palette. We're gonna take the red tone right here. For this shade, let's just take a slightly smaller blending brush. This one is from Sydney Grace. I'm gonna dip the tip of that into there, get a good amount on there, and we're going to apply this starting at the lash line and then just tapping up and into this outer corner, pulling it in through the socket just about halfway. Look how beautiful and rich and warm that is. You might be getting like scary red-orange vibes, but hang tight, we're gonna put a brown on top of it that's gonna kind of scale it down and kind of tone it down a little bit. Darken it, but tone down the redness. So don't be too scared. I know this looks a little wild right now, but I know what I'm doing. At least I hope. With gold jewelry today. It's been a while since I've worn gold jewelry. I just got into like a silver phase. I do think silver jewelry generally looks a little bit better on me. Wiping that brush off, we're just very lightly gonna dust a little bit of what's in the outer corner below the lower lash line, just very outer edge. Take my sponge and just clean that up a little bit. Now sticking with the Bronze This Way palette, we're gonna dip into this kind of reddish bronze color and put that kind of the center and outer half of the lid. All right, now we're gonna jump over to the Nude Nothing Compares to Nude palette, and we're gonna start in this shade right here, the bottom. It's kind of like a champagne rose gold. This is gonna go on the inner third of the lid and overlap that shade we just put down, and then we'll put something a little bit brighter on that very most inner corner. We're gonna jump back over to the Coral palette. We're gonna take this dark brown right here. You could also use the brown in the Bronze This Way. This one's not quite as deep, but I'm gonna go pretty smoky with this one. So we're gonna dip into this dark matte brown. This is my Sigma E25 brush, just right on the tip. And I'm going to start at the lash line. Kind of do the same thing I did with that red. A little bit of a lighter hand. Deepen up this outer corner. Just doing little C-shape motions. Clean up that edge again. Okay, and now jumping back over to the Nude palette, we're gonna take this Champagne in the corner here, and let's use a brush for this. Just have a small kind of flat concealer brush here from Sydney Grace. I'm gonna tap that into that Champagne. This is gonna go on that inner corner, right in that little pocket right there. I'm gonna drag it along the lash line to overlap that other shade. Let's take just a little bit of my Wet n Wild liner. I'm gonna apply this to the waterline. A tiny wing just at this outermost corner. Now I'm going to throw on a couple coats of my Maybelline Sky High mascara. Then I'll be right back and we'll finish off with the brows and the lips. Eyes are finished. I do need to finish my eyebrows. So today we're going to use my Ulta Beauty Ultra Slim Brow Pencil and my NYX The Brow Glue. I have the shade Ash Taupe here. Just going to quickly fill in my brows. And then set those in place with my NYX The Brow Glue. This is the taupe shade. And finishing off with the lips, I'm going to take my Nonstop Nude liner from LA Girl and overline just a bit with this. Lightly going to fill in just that outer rim, and then I'm going to go back to that small brush that I used on my inner corner. I'm gonna wipe that off really good and just use this. Smudge that out. Okay, I'm gonna take just a tiny bit of the Flexitarian on my finger. Tap that right in the center. Now that it's all set down, we are going to take the e.l.f. Lip Plumping Gloss in Champagne Glam. This is such a gorgeous lip gloss that I do not give enough time to. I guess the only thing that's bad about it is the lid. Always does this thing. This is the third tube of this that I've bought, and every one of them have had this issue with the top coming off. But the gloss itself is really, really fantastic. All right, now let's do a little bit of setting spray. This is optional. We're gonna take my ColourPop Pretty Fresh setting spray and just lock that all in place. And here we have it, guys. This is the finished makeup look. I think it's gorgeous. A lot of red in this look, so I know that this is not going to be for everyone. If this is a little bit too much red for your comfort zone, you could definitely go either a little bit lighter on this shade right here, or skip this shade altogether and just stick with the peach or a light brown in the crease, then this bronze and just some of the browns. I myself love this type of a look. I love something warm and kind of rusty for the fall. A little bit on the smoky side. Let me know what you guys thought of this one. What do you think of some of these makeup products? I know a lot of these have been around for a while. I've been talking about some of them for years, and I'm not the only one. I know some of you guys love these products as well. I would love to know what some of your favorite super affordable drugstore items are. I love finding not just drugstore products, but really affordable drugstore products like some of these that just work so well, but save you a ton of money. And that's kind of what I feel like we did with this makeup look today. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. Thank you all so much for watching. Let me give you one last reminder. If you have not yet subscribed, be sure to do that before you leave, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.